Ever since last year, Dystoria members have been looking forward to an economy reset. There were constant complaints about how ruined the economy had become, and how having hundreds of thousands of dollars eventually stopped feeling meaningful. You could literally search the word economy in the Discord server and find complaints dating back all the way to 2024. To be fair though, Scan and the Dystoria staff genuinely seemed to be trying their best to fix things. They kept tweaking the economy system and introduced major changes to the server. But somehow, no matter what they changed, the economy always seemed to spiral back into chaos. At the time, a lot of people didn't actually believe a full economy reset would happen, mainly because it sounded like such a massive decision, something that would require an insane amount of reworking, balancing, and effort to pull off properly. And on top of that, people expected a huge negative reaction from the player base once it actually happens. Some players even joked about the reset like it was the end of the world approaching. And honestly, looking back at those old messages now is actually pretty funny in hindsight. Fast forward to the present, and Scan has finally announced a massive update that immediately caught everyone's attention. The announcement included a ton of sneak peeks, things like price changes, permissions, dimension updates, new Pokemon, and even ranked PvP. Basically, almost every major system that Dystoria players have gotten used to is most likely going to be reworked in some way. One of the first sneak peeks we got was focused on how the Dystoria marketplace system would work moving forward. This included 1. The GTS and auction house being fully integrated into Discord, 2. The in-game marketplace being transformed into a more bulletin board type system, and lastly, a website that tracks everything currently being sold in the auction house. So instead of having the economy split between the game, Discord, and external sources, they're basically combining everything together into one connected ecosystem. Overall, it honestly sounds like a really solid quality of life update. They also teased that special raids are coming soon, complete with their own unique mechanics, alongside a special skin set that will be designed by the well-known Ueshi. And honestly, just look at this Corviknight skin from the Phantom skin set. It looks insanely clean and majestic. Overall, I'm genuinely really hyped for all the new features they're planning to add. But I still haven't talked about the most important part of the entire update, and that's the economy reset. Scan explained their reasoning for finally deciding to go through with it, with the main goal being to put both new and veteran players back on a more equal footing. And hopefully, this reset can serve as the foundation for a much healthier economy moving forward. They also mentioned that they're still open to community feedback, so don't be afraid to reach out in the Discord if you have suggestions, concerns, or just want more insight into the thought process behind the update. Before fully committing to the reset, Scan also held a poll to see what the majority of players actually wanted. And to almost nobody's surprise, the majority voted in favor of the economy reset. The final vote count was a massive 115 to 49. So at this point, it's pretty clear that an economy reset is happening, whether people like it or not. But of course, this wouldn't be an interesting video if everything went completely smoothly. Just hours after the announcement dropped, the community immediately started reacting in all sorts of ways. While some players were celebrating and discussing what the next big money making method would be after the reset, others started taking advantage of the situation by buying out and hoarding items from the player shops. One of the more notable players doing this was Silver Dragon, and I actually got the chance to ask them what gave them the idea to do this. At the time, they were already one of the richest players on the server, and they basically wanted to get as much value out of their money as possible before the economy reset wiped everything. So instead of letting their money sit there, they started buying out player shops. They predicted that as the reset got closer, fewer and fewer people would bother restocking their shops anymore. And honestly, they were kinda right. At this point, both the marketplace and auction house were already heavily feeling the effects of the announcement. In the marketplace, shinies were being bought left and right. Some players even went back to old listings that barely got any attention before just to buy out whatever stock was left. Others completely closed their listings altogether to stop more orders from coming in. But honestly, the auction house was where the effects became the most obvious. You suddenly had shinies being bid on for absolutely insane amounts. For example, my own regular shiny Fluttermane ended up selling for $5 million, when just a few days earlier, it didn't even receive a single bid. And honestly, I think the reason for this is pretty simple. The economy reset is mainly just a reset to player balances, not to Pokemon ownership itself. So while everyone's money gets wiped, all the Pokemon people currently own will still exist after the update. Because of that, Shiny suddenly became one of the safest ways to preserve value. During this period, Shiny Pokemon basically became the server's version of gold. People started treating them less like collectibles and more like long-term assets that could later be traded for resources once players started rebuilding their wealth after the reset. While all this was happening, Frog Freak, one of Dystoria's moderators, dropped a very important piece of information in the chat. They mentioned that the economy reset was actually expected to happen a couple of months away, and this completely caught everyone off guard. Up until that point, most players assumed the reset would happen immediately after the poll ended, which was only about a week away. So suddenly, everyone kind of just paused. People realized they had been panic buying and overreacting way too early. And almost instantly, the market started calming down. Auction house bids stopped reaching absurd numbers, panic buying slowed down, and prices slowly began returning back to normal. Or at least somewhat close to normal. But that wasn't the end of it. Scan later made another major announcement revealing that the current currency would still have a purpose even after the economy reset. Apparently, players will still be able to spend their existing money through something called the dollar store. This shop will supposedly include things like a personal soul boost, a personal shiny boost, legendary spawner items, skins and cosmetics, and even a special rank and advancement. Once this information came out, player behavior shifted again. Instead of trying to dump all their money as fast as possible, many players suddenly had a reason to start saving again, so they could prepare for the upcoming dollar store once the reset finally happens. I also got the chance to talk to one of the owners of the very popular player store, Drake Yorn, who owns Target alongside Arip. I asked them what their plans were leading up to the economy reset, and what they planned to do moving forward overall. They mentioned from the very beginning, Target was never really created just for profit. Instead, the goal was to help both new and veteran players alike by providing accessible items and resources to the community. As for their current plans, they said they're temporarily closing Target for about a week to let the market calm down first. After prices settle a bit more, they plan to reopen with adjusted pricing so they don't accidentally undersell too hard during all the chaos happening in the economy. And honestly, I personally bought a lot of items from Target when I first started my journey in Dystoria. So I really hope you guys can show some support to both Drakeyorn and Arip for putting in the effort to run the store and help out the Dystoria community through all this craziness. As of right now, there still hasn't been any major changes to the announcement, nor has Scan given an official timeline for exactly when the economy reset will happen. And honestly, for anyone debating whether or not to start playing Dystoria, I genuinely think this is one of the best times to join in. Right now, you can still take your time learning the server, figuring out what kind of playstyle you enjoy, and experimenting with different money making methods. Then, once the economy reset finally arrives, everyone will more or less be starting fresh again, and who knows, maybe you could end up being one of the first players to hit $1 million on the new economy. But with that said, that's where I'll be ending this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this short coverage of everything currently happening around the server, especially since this ended up being one of the most requested topics when I asked for video suggestions. As always, I hope you all have a great day or night ahead of you. This has been Shimoto. Peace out.